Hey y'all, welcome to Gadplot, a podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And this week we're going to be going over a topic that I hold very near and dear because I'm a fucking nerd. I love equal parts creativity, chaos, and really good flag design.
Ooh.
And that's something that you could really only find in a thing called micronations.
Oh, no.
So we have talked about a micronation before, but for those of you who are new to the pod, the definition of a micronation, courtesy of Wikipedia, is, quote, an entity whose members claim that they belong to an independent nation or sovereign state, but which lacks legal recognition by world governments or major international organizations. The most famous of them, as of right now, would probably be Sealand, which is an independent country that is off the coast of Britain towards the south. It's essentially a dude took over an old World War II platform and just turned it into his own country.
Oh, yeah. Was that the same one that had like a radio tower on it?
Yep, same one. Like pirates tried to attack it and they kicked them out. Yeah, it's the British have been too polite to remove them, so Sealand is just kind of its own thing, and it's very adorable. They make stamps. It is what it is.
That's why you get into the micronation business.
Oh, 100%.
Anyway, yeah.
And the one we previously talked about is the Conch Republic, which is based out of Key West.
Mm-hmm.
And that was more like a mix of PR stunt than a legitimate attempt to say, hey, we're an independent nation now, deal with it. So today, I think it's important for us to talk about the other side of the coin for American micronations, one that did everything it could to establish itself as a true nation, at least on paper. And with a nation on paper, the wrong group of people can get up to a whole world of shenanigans. And with that foreshadowing set, let's talk about the person who created this new little nation in the midst of America, or maybe somewhere else. So David Evan Pedley was born in 1929 in Daly City, California, which is a suburb of San Francisco, just to the south.
Okay.
Barely anything is known about his childhood, but it is reported that in the early 1950s, he graduated from the University of California. I'm assuming Berkeley, but I don't really know. But book learning...
It's known as Cal.
I know. I don't know where the regular UCal is. I don't know. Like Santa Monica? Like San Jose? I don't really know.
Go Bears.
Yeah.
Are they Bears?
But yeah, it is the Bears. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
UCal Bears.
The Redwoods? Something like that.
It's Stanford.
Oh,
they're the
right.
Cardinal, but they have a big ass tree running around.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, yeah. So he goes to UCal in the 50s, but book learning really isn't going to be the main focus of David's life. He has greater ambitions. He would build out a specialty in financial crime. According to the book, The Fountain Pen Conspiracy by Jonathan Whitney, David would join a loose collective of con men led by a dude named Clifford Noe. Cliff was so good at what he did that the FBI would call him, quote, among the most notorious white-collar criminals ever. He would often work with his brother Paul to commit all of his crimes. Some of their greatest hits include buying a bank in Texas, using worthless stock as collateral, and then just taking everything out of the bank and leaving.
Ooh.
And then he ran a version of the same scam in Britain, because if it works once, keep doing it. And in 1986, he then did a version of the same scam, but this time he tried to buy an entire insurance company in New Jersey. Now, that's not to say that Clifford and Paul got away with these crimes. They constantly were found guilty of wire and mail fraud, but their sentencing was typically around about 5 years. And each time they got out of prison, they just went right back to frauding up the joint.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe hold them for forget it. Yeah.
No, a common theme of this episode is the 3 strikes rule here in America really kind of only applies to drugs and guns. If you're doing financial crimes, it's really hard to get 3 strikes on that.
It's club fed, baby.
Exactly.
Let's lose weight.
It's wonderful. You can hang out in a prison with Martha Stewart and
you're with other C-suite. I mean, it's just like hard prison too. You know, the connections you're making,
mm-hmm.
It's no different than the hopes and dreams that people have sending their sons to Ivy League schools
mm-hmm.
in the hopes that they'll brush shoulders with, I don't know, someone with connections.
Yeah, it's eaten for crime.
Yeah.
Choked. It's choked for crime. Also known as choked. I don't know.
It's USC, but the improv group is going to help you continue criming.
Yes, 100%.
Instead of get you that sweet writer's gig.
You know, I don't know if it's true, but one of the things I had heard is that the Kellogg School for Business and Northwestern, it's like 10% go on to make millions of dollars, and then 10% end up in jail within 5 years.
Oh, they end up in Illinois government?
Boop, boop. So Cliff and Paul are constantly getting out of jail for these huge fucking crimes. And Clifford would go on to commit his last crime in 2003, running a prime bank scheme, which best I can tell means he tricked people into giving him money for vague international investments that he guaranteed would have a 100% rate of return. He would plead guilty to wire fraud and then died shortly after the conviction.
Out with a bang.
Yeah, I mean, I think the theme of Clifford No's life is no consequences.
And that's the end of our episode. Good night, everyone.
Oh my God, if only. So all that being said, Jonathan Whitney wouldn't refer to Clifford No as, quote, the world's greatest con man, but instead saved that title for David Pedley. Now, I'd love to find examples as to why, but the book that I'm quoting this from has been out of print since I think the 70s, and it's $200 on Amazon, and no one's uploaded it online, so I'm just gonna believe Jonathan on this.
Jesse, we got to get you some patron money.
Oh my God. That would be such a waste of money to like buy this 50-year-old book or 60-year-old book, my God, off Amazon Prime and to just wait for it to arrive 8 weeks later.
Well, and then we do the episode and then you put it back up on. Oh my God, did I just figure out our crime?
Yeah, it's literally a book churning scheme.
Yes, it's book laundering.
My God, we're gonna open one of those like antique bookstores that never has anyone in it. It's gonna be great.
It is going to be great because I'll be left alone to read the books.
Evanston used to have two. There's an open market now.
Oh, yes.
So, much like Clifford No, David would find himself caught by Johnny Law. He went and broke the most popular commandment of crime. He snitched on as many people as he could.
Wait, and so hold on. Who, the guy we're now talking about, what's his name again?
David Pedley.
David Pedley.
So David's doing all the crime. It's going great. He gets caught and he decides to just turn on people to ensure that he's not going to be in jail for that long.
And he was like a cohort with?
Yeah, he was kind of like a low, he was working for Clifford No, but was definitely one of those like prime prospects. He's up and coming. He's going to go independent whenever he can.
A mentee, if you will.
Yes, 100%. Like if Gru had a minion that was good at something.
Oh, no.
In 1975, he would turn state's evidence on some of his more dangerous co-workers, the New Jersey mob.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna flip on someone, the mob should be low on your list. I mean, maybe I've seen Sopranos one too many times, but I'm of the belief that not even witness protection will keep you safe for very long.
Did he just, it sounds like, unfortunately, he only watched Goodfellas.
It hadn't been out yet. This is 1975.
Oh my God. Okay. Well,
it's like I think he saw The Godfather and he's like, I think I'm gonna be okay.
I'll be fine. These people are honorable.
He stopped the movie while Scott Conn was still alive. Or David Conn, or which Conn?
Yeah, wait.
Scott Conn's his son.
Oh, shit. James Conn.
James Conn, yeah. Well, James Conn is still alive and Scott Conn isn't even born yet. Ugh, really fumbled that reference. All right. So turning on the mob gave David the grand prize of going into witness protection in sunny Oakland. He would begin to go under the name David Wellington, and by default, his family would have to also become Wellingtons as well, which mainly just meant David's son. So Mark Logan Pedley was born in 1953 in Los Angeles, California, and much like his dad, there's both fuck and all that we know about his childhood. But in 1975 is where the lives of David and Mark would become more of a team thing. Now free of a life of crime, David asked his 22-year-old son to enter into business with him. The two began the Silverado Title Company. Within 4 years, these new Wellingtons would expand their business interests to offering investments in land in El Dorado and Mendocino counties in California. They would end up building homes in the unincorporated town of Cameron Park. They got into feed grain trading, which it's like, I bought a lot of grain that cows eat. I'm gonna wait until it's a good price for me to sell it.
So like commodities.
Yes, commodity trading. And just for the fun of it, they also bought a herd of cattle that his son mainly took care of. So financially, going straight had worked out really well for David. Plus, he didn't have to worry about the Jersey mob coming by to break his knees anymore. And it got to the point that they had so much income that they purchased the Barron's Bank and Trust Company. And sure, said bank was based in the Caribbean nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but being good at business requires the ability to manage from afar, right? Una, right? That's how business do, right?
It's not Cayman Islands, but it's Cayman Islands light.
It's definitely adjacent. And I think if there's anything I could mention on this podcast, if I mention that someone buys a bank, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be bad. Like Buddy Romer is the exception.
So, in the sense of gadfly bingo, yeah, we have
Yeah.
buys a bank, we have graduates college at 18.
I
Yeah.
don't think he was 18 when he graduated,
Oh,
but yeah, that's on the
I'm
card.
just saying, like in general, like these are
Oh,
the
got
red
it.
flags
Yeah.
to watch out for
Yeah.
in any episode.
I have a political party and it's radically centrist, which I'm gonna go on a little jag right now. Did you see Andrew Yang today get accosted, if you will?
No, but if he's saying he's accosted so many days after Salman Rushdie lost his eye.
Not the same. I'm making a
Okay.
bad joke because
Okay.
he was being interviewed by Jim Acosta. And Jim Acosta was like, "Hey, what's the Forward Party's stance on abortion?" And Andrew was like, "We're not left, we're not right. We're always thinking common sense solutions going forward." And Jim Acosta's like, "You have to have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
You're a political party. You can't just give some bullshit." I'm paraphrasing. You can't just give some bullshit answer. And then just started pelting him with difficult questions. And Andrew looked so crushed and mad.
Good.
Yeah, it was very funny. So either which way, let's go back to 1970, late 70s. So yeah, the Wellingtons have bought a bank in St. Vincent. They're running a bunch of real estate. It's going great. And then in April of 1978, the Ag Credit Corporation of Denver received a request from one of Wellington's businesses to borrow $1.6 million in order to buy just a ton of feed grain. They agreed, but they needed collateral to prove that the business was good for it and that they wouldn't just, be throwing their money away. While the Wellingtons got the collateral ready, the loan began to go through a series of complex banking transactions. So complex that when the bank was like, "Hey, we don't really have that collateral just yet," they looked in their account and the money was gone and they couldn't trace where it went.
It just got like wire shenanigans.
That's definitely a term for it. Yeah. And so the Ag Credit Corporation is, big and powerful. So they called their friends in the government and said, "Hey, we need to freeze this because something fucky is going on. We are not losing $1.6 million over grain."
Yeah, this isn't a power off and power on the IBM issue.
Yeah, this isn't an accidental whoops-a-doo. I didn't drop an abacus. Things have gone wrong. So Ag Credit goes to court, got all of the Wellington's business assets frozen, and one by one, all the Wellington operations began failing. By the summer, all the businesses had declared bankruptcy, which is a really great sign for the FBI to get involved.
Burp.
Now, the feds typically aren't huge fans of speaking about ongoing cases, so the Sacramento Bee had to go in and fill in the gaps for the public. And to kick things off, the first thing they discovered, that story about witness protection was not even true.
No, he just pretended he was in witness protection?
He made it up because he knew that if people looked into him, they would see his criminal past. But if he tells people he turned state witness, then he has a story of it's a redemption story. It's why he has to be so private. It's why he can't go out in public and dismiss all these accusations against him.
Yeah, it's this sexy little mystery about him.
It also didn't help that the Deputy Attorney General of California had backed him on this statement.
No.
Yeah, but we'll get to that in a bit. I don't want to jump too far. So during this time that he was supposed to be in the witness protection program, what actually was happening was in the early 70s, David was busy swindling people in Los Angeles and Orange counties with fraudulent stocks, and he ends up getting arrested, served his time, moved up to Oakland, and created this whole backstory to be able to not worry about that.
I love it.
And in 1976, they bought up a bunch of really cheap land in Cameron Park and partnered with a local contractor in his 20s to begin building and selling homes there. So the grift works like this. So David and Mark buy a private jet. They go out to San Jose and they start talking to all these investors with these huge promises that the housing market in the Sierra foothills was about to boom. They loaded them on these private planes, flew them out to the land, wined and dined them, and gave them these high-pressure pitches at the site of where the homes were, promising 30 to 40% return on investment within 6 months. And if they agreed to buy in, then they would buy the lots directly from David, usually between $10,000 to $27,000, which today is $52,000 to $140,000. The Pedleys would then arrange for additional construction financing by putting loans in the investors' names. But to keep things on the up and up, investors were promised that they would receive the title to the property and maintain full control of the building project. Because if you're ordering stuff in their name, they at least need some control. So in total, the Pedleys were able to raise $500,000 or $2.6 million in today's money just by doing this. The lawyers for the various investors said that they almost never got deeds to the property and were never kept in the loop as to what was going on. Either the Wellingtons would never send the deeds, or the deeds would be sent, but they wouldn't be notarized, so they weren't legally binding at all. And on top of that, investors wouldn't be told of the liens that had been placed against the properties, or construction funds that often went missing. And when the houses were finished, typically their quality was just a couple notches above pure crap. I'm kind of picturing the blue housing
100%.
edition. Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
So meanwhile, the Wellingtons were buying more and more property with the goal of subdividing land and continuing this land scheme, but on a larger level. Oh, and I should mention that Caribbean bank that they bought, it turns out it was a shell corporation with no address or phone number that they had made up, so it'd be easier for them to launder money.
Amazing. I bet everyone else was angry.
Honestly, it's not a bad grift.
It's not.
It's a decent late 70s plan.
No, but for everyone else, it was a beef Wellington.
Boo, yes. But like I said, the thing that probably has David so cocky on this is that he does have an ally with the Deputy Attorney General of California, a guy by the name of Jerome Utz. And Jerome had actually started a company in Oregon with the sole purpose of being able to get a credit card from Standard Oil for him to purchase airplane fuel. And the only employee that he had on this company was David Wellington.
Yikes!
So I think
the grift goes all the way to the top.
He might have been getting a few kickbacks to just let this shit slide.
Absolutely.
The SAC-B also found that Utz had played a part in reducing David's past criminal charges and was the root of the claim that David was in the witness protection program. He would often go to court and be like, "This is my friend. He made a mistake. Please give him less jail time." I would appreciate it.
Because I want my monies.
Yeah. And if you feel like this is all a bit much, you're not alone. An anonymous FBI investigator told the Sacramento Bee, "The thing is extremely complex. We're not dealing with a discrete scheme, but a broader range of activity. It involves all kinds of alleged criminal activity. It's so convoluted." In 1982, the situation would finally get somewhat resolved. Jerome Utz, David Wellington, and Mark Wellington were indicted on 11 charges, predominant amongst them being mail fraud. Utz would go to trial and was forced to resign his position, and the Wellingtons went with Plan B and escaped to Mexico.
Oh, look at that.
The plan didn't work super well. So the Mark would end up getting caught within a year because he didn't update his visa. And so immigration authorities in Mexico checked it, arrested him, and then deported him back to America where he had to go to trial.
Dude, you can make up witness protection, but you can't
can't just update your visa. You can't pay a guy. Yeah, and so he ends up getting convicted for mail and interstate fraud. As for David, he would turn himself into Mexican authorities by 1983, but they decided to keep him in Mexico in their prisons because he had committed, quote, currency violations. Apparently, he and Mark had been selling certificates of deposit from the Merchant Bank of Trust in Saipan of the Northern Mariana Islands. So technically America. It's like a protectorate of America. And he promised that with these certificates, you could buy them for pesos and then very easily sell them for dollars. The problem, though, is the bank is one they made up.
Again.
They defrauded $6 million from people in this scam alone.
Holy shit.
The mistake that Mark made, though, is that he took that $6 million and had a guy invest that money in a dairy farm in Jerome, Idaho, with the plan to buy the land and build shitty houses on it once again once the heat died down. Una, it worked so good the first time. Why wouldn't you want to keep going?
You know, when you watch a director's work and after a while it's just like, you're just recreating your MFA thesis again.
It's really frustrating that this is the guy that Jonathan Quaid was like, yeah, this is the best conman we've ever seen. He's amazing. He just does the same thing and keeps getting caught, like good conmen do.
Yeah, like what?
So while Mark would spend the next 3 years in American prison, his dad would spend his free time in Mexican prison working on a project we all wish we could do at one point in our lives. He did his own translation of the Bible. He would call this interpretation the Melchizedek Bible. Supposedly, he co-wrote it with Mark, but I really can't find any 100% clarity on this, if they mailed it back and forth like the Postal Service did, or if they're I don't know how it worked, but supposedly they co-wrote it with Mark being the brainchild behind it.
if they did do it via mail, better check those manuscripts,
Mhm.
knowing how much these guys love their mail fraud.
So the Bible would be named in honor of Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who is mentioned very briefly in Genesis chapter 14, verse 18 through 20. In those verses, Abraham had just returned from defeating the king of Elam, and old Mel was so jazzed that he brought out bread and wine personally to Abraham. He was also acting as a high priest of God and gave his blessing to Abraham, making him the first ever recognized priest in the Bible. Some Gnostic scripts also speculate that Mel is actually the first incarnation of Jesus Christ, and so there's like some really fun esoteric arguments over this side character who shows up for a minute. And so I think I have a pretty good idea why David decided that Melchizedek was going to be his main inspiration. And for that, we kind of have to go back to his college days, because in his college days, he ended up meeting this professor named Josiah Merriman. Merriman had been a physician, thorough science dude who got really obsessed with Christian science.
The religion Christian side?
Yes.
Like
the Church of Jesus Christ scientist.
The one that doesn't believe in going to a doctor.
I mean, I will slightly fix that.
Okay,
They
great.
believe you should go to a doctor if it's things like a broken bone or if you need to see a dentist. Yeah, you kind of need to go to a doctor for that. But their belief is that any sort of disease isn't caused by bacteria or virus. That is an error in your morality and mentality. So the best way to cure any disease is through specific prayer. And like I said, they are fine with you going to the doctor, but they also say that if you're gonna pray your sickness away, the worst thing you can do is be on medication during that process.
To each their own. I like a good antibiotic treatment or course. Fine with that. But hey,
I've heard good things.
Live your life.
Yeah. So the book that the Church of Jesus Christ Scientists or Christian Scientists had used for their Bible is the New Melchizedek Bible, which had been written by Mary Baker Eddy, who founded the whole religion. And so I think it's very much coming from that inspiration that if he's doing the Melchizedek Bible, he was very clearly affected by Christian Science. Fun detail I forgot to put in, by this point, he and his son were sporting these sort of Nazarene-style beards and doing their best to look very biblical.
All right.
So for a bit of fun, I think we should take a look at the difference between, the good old King James compared to the Melchizedek Bible.
Yeah.
So a good one for this would be Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 4. The beginning of the book, the thing that most people have read before they got bored. And also the verse most people know whether you read the Bible or not. So from the old reliable King James, we have, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Now, lots of bold writing choices in that bit. Lots of colons and semicolons. Really bold to start so many sentences with and. I can respect that as someone who does that too much. But also, darkness was upon the face of the deep is just a banger of a phrase. That is good writing is what that is.
Yeah, it's always held up as like a milestone in English language.
Mm-hmm. But let's see if David can improve on that. Only God reveals nomenon and phenomenon. And phenomenon is without form and void, with ignorance upon the face of error. Yet divine thoughts move upon the visage of God's elements, declaring, let there be enlightenment. And there was enlightenment. God beholds the enlightenment, that it is good. And God separates the enlightenment from ignorance. And I think this is a really good example of why John the Elder wrote that bit about the Bible in Revelation 22, verse 18, that you shouldn't edit it. This is some dweeb shit.
I mean, hey, you know what? Listen, I understand that translation can be difficult, especially when the author is dead or omnipotent, your choice. However, I'm going to guess he's not going back to an original Latin or, dare I say, Aramaic and then translate it. So 2 things. One, you want to start this passage off with phenomena twice and somehow not sound like a Muppet.
Look, I was thrown by I don't think nomenon's a word.
Phenomena.
And I'm already distracted by this. Right.
Phenomena.
Fucking Professor Meat or whatever his name is. I forget the name of the fucking Dr. Meat and the whatever band.
Yeah.
Janice. Janice is the one I remember. Animals on the drums. Everyone else is on drugs. And it's great.
100%.
Yeah, it's a bad start. And it gets worse somehow. Like, you're gonna take darkness was upon the face of the deep and then somehow fuck that up worse than possible? Like, what's wrong with you, sir?
Yeah, it's the inverse of my disdain for the new translation and also with you. And it's like, and now it's and with your spirit. And as my cousin annoyingly put it out, I was like, it's just closer to the original Latin. You gotta hear it in Latin. And it's like, that's not the point. The point is we all had this shared experience of like not quite English.
100%. Yeah, there's a reason what you're supposed to do in prison is keep your head down, work out, and maybe get a degree or two. Like, you shouldn't be doing Bible work. It's already been done. So Mark, being a good son, gets the Melchizedek Bible self-published. So it's out there if you want to read it. I don't want to buy it, but it's there in theory. And so, yeah, Mark gets out of prison in 1986 and then immediately gets convicted again for currency fraud and ends up right back in jail.
Again? Like a different currency fraud?
Different currency fraud.
Oh my God. Quit frauding for like 2 minutes.
Nah, you got to fraud. Fraud pays the bills and then doesn't. As for his dad, in 1987, David Pedley would end up dying in Mexican prison.
No.
Well, good news, maybe. So Mark's allowed to leave prison for the funeral, and the family gets things together and the casket shows up. It's already closed and locked, so they can't verify that there's a body in there, which is really, really shady for the FBI agents who showed up to the wake. They ask the family, hey, could we see the body? Could we maybe fingerprint the body? And the Pedleys outright refuse, and so the FBI has to leave, assuming there's a body in there, but believing there isn't.
This is an Arrested Development sketch.
Yeah, just move it down to fucking, I don't know, Pacific Palisades, and yeah. But the thing is, I have no proof that David Pedley ends up living after this. He doesn't do anything else.
He would have frauded again.
Oh, he absolutely would have, unless he was just like, I'm gonna retire from the fraud. Faking my death is the best fraud. And he might have just stayed in Mexico. He paid off like a jailer, and he's like, send back a box. We're good.
But then you would have heard of like Estevan Wellington.
Oh my God, yeah. Hey, some dude just opened 80 banks in Jalisco.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
If you're breathing, you're fraud, man.
Yep. So, yeah, it's a bit hard to tell, but this is the last we ever hear of David Pedley, which is good because the name David's going to come up a lot in the future, just not referring to him.
A different David.
Sort of. So Mark ends up staying in prison until 1990 when he's released on parole in March of that year. Now, part of being on parole is that you're kind of expected not to do any crime stuff. It's the trade-off for partial in-home freedom. Mark lasted 3 months. But it was for a good reason that he had to go back to crime. It was allegedly to fulfill his dad's dream. So going back to when David Pedley was in college and he got to talking to Josiah Merriman, one of the things that Merriman was really big on was resurrecting the kingdom of Melchizedek, which technically would mean the kingdom of Salem, but it's kind of debatable as to where Salem is in the old Bible. The common, or at least the majority opinion, is that the kingdom of Salem was actually Jerusalem. So he really wanted a rise of like a Jerusalem kingdom, or a kingdom of Christianity, if you will. That isn't just in modern day Israel, but the world.
I mean, isn't that like the desire for a lot of very, very fundamentalist Protestant sects?
Yeah, I didn't say it's an original idea, but yeah.
I'm just making sure.
No,
it's
right.
Like, wait, this is why they keep like funding shit in Israel, because the hope is like, I don't know, all the Jews re-enter the kingdom. And
100%, yeah. This is essentially Protestant Vatican is what he's trying to get.
Hey, new pope.
Exactly. His name's Steve and he's married. So I'm not really sure if David Pedley actually got really religious when he was in prison, because, I mean, that can happen. But he really impressed on his son is like, we need to make Melchizedek its own nation. This is something we need to do. And so in June of 1990, Mark made good on this goal and declared the creation of the Dominion of Melchizedek. In the Declaration of Sovereignty, Mark would describe the Dominion as, quote, an ecclesiastical state organized and based upon the ancient heritage and principles of Melchizedek, which I might add, who was in the Bible for 2 lines. So I don't know what principles you're looking for. Bring a dude wine when he shows up from war. Done.
He was getting deep into the Marvel universe before it even existed. He was
Yeah.
realizing that there was plenty to pull from.
Is Melchizedek the squirrel girl of the Bible?
Exactly.
I know that's a
Well,
bad question. I couldn't think of any other Marvel
listen,
character that would actually be a good analog.
who's to say if maybe he just saw too many revivals of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead at a very formative age?
You know, as you do. You get really into Sam Shepard when you're 8.
Yeah.
He wrote that, right? Am I remembering that right?
Or Tom Stoppard? I
Oh, it's
can't
probably
remember.
Stoppard. Yeah. Penter, one of them.
Oh, God.
Uh
Don't
cool.
at us,
I
listeners.
know. We're just fucking up pop culture. It's how it's going to go this episode. So, to continue the quote, its foundation being the preservation of freedom, privacy, and the individual safety of its people. The declaration also went on to claim that the people of this fake nation keep running into unfair government regulation that prohibits their ability to do business, which, knowing Mark's main career, is him bitching that he can't do crime whenever.
Yeah, that's not regular. It's just law. It's just law, my dude.
No, that's why we have to make our own country. So Mark would go on to claim that the city of Jerusalem was the homeland of his people, but would state that the Dominion has no real boundaries, that it's pretty much everywhere, man. When pressed on
Buddhism?
When pressed on giving a specific location, though, he would state that Malpelo Island was actually their current home. This particular island is off the western coast of Colombia in the Pacific Ocean, and the claim does have a couple of issues so far. For one, the island is nearly entirely surrounded by vertical cliff faces, and you really have only one area you could kind of call a beach. It's just where the rock goes into the water. It's not a good landing site, especially if you want to keep your boats intact. Problem 2, as the Oceanic Org Mission Blue points out, is that it's surrounded by fuckloads of hammerhead and silky sharks. So,
cool.
Not the safest. Problem 3 is there is no soil or freshwater sources on the entire island. It is algae, lizards, birds, and all the batshit you can eat.
That's where I have an issue now. Or you could harvest the guano.
Well, that's true. There's good money in guano. But 4, and most importantly, the island belongs to Colombia.
Yeah.
And no, they are not interested in selling. In fact, they would place the island under complete environmental protection in 1995, only allow visitation by permit only, and they put a Colombian Navy garrison to watch the island on a regular goddamn basis.
Yeah, they know. Religious fanatics don't,
Yeah.
believe how crazy they are the first time. Don't wait around to find out.
I will say part of it is also to make sure there isn't illegal fishing going on because the whole thing's a protected marine reserve now.
Oh, that's right.
But my point stands.
But yeah.
Oh, Mark's also changing his name. We need to bring this up too. So he's now going by the name of Branch Vinedresser.
What?
Branch Vinedresser. You know, half-elf druid. Branch Vinedresser.
Branch Vinedresser.
Yeah. When asked by Forbes magazine in 1991 why he chose the name, he opened up the Bible to John chapter 15 and stated, quote, "My father is the vine dresser. Every branch of mine that bears no fruit, he takes away." So, you know, it's really clear now.
What?
Branch Vinedresser is in John, which, you know, is a good a time as any to say what the research of this was like. Every time you think you're going to find something that makes sense, you end up uncovering a whole new knot of confusion that you have to research to understand. And even then, there's no guarantee you will. It's like being given a puzzle box with many intricate things that you know nothing about that you can figure out by looking online. And when you open it up, it's just a Kinder Egg that someone else has already used.
Feels like the time I stumbled upon the outline for Chinatown.
Yep, it
was a mess.
It's just complicated nonsense, and all you get is a fart and a fuck you. It's just the worst. So it kind of seems like that without his dad, Branch wasn't really the most careful when it came to his new crime, like to criming on his own. Like I said, 1 year into creating the Dominion, Forbes began to look into things. I guess they had a slow period. They would find Branch not off the western coast of Colombia, but in a set of offices in Lake Tahoe. One office was in California, and the other office was in Nevada. I think he used them based on what law would let him get away with what.
Mm-hmm. Just your basic Kansas City setup. I don't see anything wrong with this.
And in the process of tracking down where Branch was, Forbes had discovered at least a couple scams that he'd gotten up to in the brief amount of time since starting the nation. First, they found that the Dominion had made their own currency and somehow got Bloomberg to list it, and it's changing exchange rates.
I just love the idea of them running up to Bloomberg and be like, "Are you fucking out of your... Stop it! Stop it!"
Bloomberg, I blame you for crypto. Second, it seems using the connections that his dad had made during his life, Branch began offering fake business charters and passports for all the other con men to sell. And third, completely unrelated to the fake currency scheme, Branch had gained control of a company called Currency, spelled current and then C at the end.
Like the letter C or SEE?
SEA.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. The company had been a penny stock, which the New York Stock Exchange refers to as any company that shares are less than $1 to buy. And Mark ended up buying a controlling share and just got the company. He then filed with the SEC claiming that the company owned 10% of the world's oceans, despite the company only having $386 in cash on hand. So even if this is slightly true, it would be a gross violation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which stipulates the amount of sea that is owned by each nation that borders it.
We're taking you to maritime court now, motherfucker.
Yeah, we are bringing in sovereign citizen bullshit. I have the right flag. You are fucked. And so Branch would declare a market cap for the company of $500 million. Market cap is the amount of available stock that is left that no one has bought. So technically, the company could bring in $500 million. And the goal seems to be to artificially enhance the value per share and committing just a pile of crimes by doing that.
Oh, no.
So Forbes reported all of this in 1991, which led the Washoe County Sheriff's Office in Nevada to look into things, especially because him getting into any kind of investing was a direct violation of his parole.
There it is.
Within months, they had arrested Branch for violating his parole and sent him right back to jail for another 3 years. But jail can change a man, Una. Maybe not the first or second or third time, but eventually it does. And when Mark came out of prison in 1994, he left behind much of his old life. For one, he was now no longer Branch Vinedresser. Now, you could call him Shemak ben David Netzer Karem, or David Karem if you're short on time, which I wasn't able to verify this, but supposedly Shemak ben David Netzer Karem is the Hebrew translation of Branch Vinedresser. I don't believe it.
That's great. That's a deep cut right there, sir.
Yeah. Second, New David was going to be a married man. Now he had been married before. He got married in 1976. I think they got divorced when he got shipped off to prison because we never hear of this wife ever again. Her name was Janeth, I believe.
Okay, Janeth.
Great name. I'm glad you're out of it. So yeah, Janeth and their 2 kids left him forever. But yeah, it's 1994 and he's getting married to a Filipino woman by the name of Elvira Gamboa. But you can't really become a main character in the story without changing your name. So from this point forward, she would be known as Pearl Asia Gamboa. And holy fuck, she is down to clown.
Yes, Pearl!
Pearl Asia's life before coming to America is vague and full of self-centered mythos. We do know that she was born in Manila in 1951. She would claim to San Francisco Weekly that while she lived in the Philippines, she negotiated a peace between 2 warring mountain tribes, and as a gift, they gave her one of her many future pseudonyms, Baisi Kataguman, which she claimed translated to Princess of Unity, making her a true official princess. Now, I want to prove this wrong, but the Philippines have over 120 languages that are spoken in the nation, and I could really only rule out Tagalog. So sure, why not?
Yeah, we're all about invention and reinvention. If you're a princess, come on by.
Yeah,
be princess.
Welcome to America. Have fun. She comes to America in 1973 and worked as a blood analyst in San Francisco. In 1993, she would divorce from her first husband, but she wouldn't stay single for long. Thanks to mutual connections in Canada, the 2 were introduced. David, fresh out of prison, Pearl Asia, newly single and getting into gold mining concerns. And Pearl Asia states that she was immediately drawn to the spiritual side of David, noting that he looked pretty biblical when they met. And she decided that thanks to him, she was sick of chasing money, and she wanted to learn more about her spiritual side. The 2 would marry shortly after, and as a wedding gift, David made her president of the Dominion of Melchizedek. It's still going. It's still a country. So she quickly got to work deciding what they really needed to focus on and finding a physical land of their own, especially since Colombia does not want them.
Yeah, that was a hard no.
Yeah. So her initial idea is to claim an uninhabited island in the Philippines, claiming it wouldn't be a problem so long as they were doing it for religious reasons.
She's a princess of unity, guys.
Right? Look, I don't know if you know the translation of Baisi Kataguman, but it's maybe princess in one of those.
It's maybe princess of unity.
Yeah. So she ends up settling on the Caratane Islands, which it ends up aren't part of the Philippines. The closest nation there to is Tahiti, but she says, you know what, they're ours now. She would also say, I've never been to the islands, and I've heard at high tide they go under the water. but I think they're ours. And you know what? Land is land.
Unless it's under the water.
Exactly.
But aside from that.
And David was also about to score a sizable win for the Dominion. On June 3rd, 1993, he received a letter from Andre Kalingba, the president of the Central African Republic. Now, Kalingba had ruled the nation for 12 years as a military dictator, but he had more of a focus on corruption than brutality. So he was more about like collecting the money than just killing everyone he didn't like. Thanks to the fact of him being anti-communist, though, he was able to get a lot of financial support from Western nations, which allowed him to stay in power for quite some time. But by the time that he got a letter from the Dominion, the Cold War was done and support from the West was gone. He kind of realized that his ability to keep power in the Central African Republic was on a razor's edge, and he needed as many allies as he possibly could. So when the Dominion of Melchizedek wrote him, he wrote back saying, "I recognize you as a real country, and yes, we should be allies. Do you want to come here on a diplomatic mission?"
I love your stamps.
Yes. Yes.
Do you want to grab coffee?
It's I am thirsty for an ally.
Yes.
So this ends up
DTF down to Federation.
Yeah. This ended up not working out so well for Kalingba. It's there ends up being a bloodless coup. He's kicked out. Things have not really been good for the Central African Republic. They've never really had great leadership or people who are good with money if it's, doesn't keep falling into their pockets. So either which way, they have an ally with Kalingba for about 3 months, and then he's ousted from power. But they are the first and only nation to recognize the Dominion as a real nation.
I feel like for the Dominion, even if it's 8 months, it's like putting an internship on your resume. Like, it is something.
Mm-hmm. But really, I don't think the Dominion realized, but they were actually going to be in desperate need of allies because France was about to do something really fucked up. In 1995, France would conduct a series of nuclear tests in a pair of atolls in French Polynesia. They would be really boring, mostly underground tests, or at least as far as nuclear tests go, they're really boring. They still made the 2 atolls that they conducted on completely uninhabitable, but, it's boring shit compared to everything else we try to do, like blowing up the ozone and shoving a nuke deep in the ocean just to see what happens. It would also end up being France's last ever nuclear test, but it was just, dull for what it was. But the problem is they didn't get approval from the Dominion of Melchizedek before doing this.
Ho, ho, ho.
And Perlasia thought that the Caritane Islands were a little too close for comfort and considered this a declaration of war.
Okay, hold up, calm down.
No, Perlasia has a plan because they immediately sent a letter to the government of France saying, "We have allies in the Carpathian Mountains, I'm assuming Romania, who got their hands on Soviet-era nukes. And unless you do something about this, back off, recognize that we're real, and admit that you have fucked up and give us, money, apologies, we're going to nuke you."
What? Wait, how was this received? Did they write it in French? Because I feel like if they didn't, then it just got tossed in the trash.
I'm sure there's one guy there's like an intern who gets all the English mail.
Yeah, and he's told to just throw it away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, France never replied, so maybe they did. But I assume it's also because the French have pretty decent intelligence, and they're friends with the British, who have very good intelligence. Mm-hmm. And if anyone in Romania had a nuke, they would know. So it's not exactly the best of threats. But just to be a little petty, the French Polynesian government decides to go out to the coordinates where they're told the Caritane Islands are. They go out there and they report back that the closest island to the surface is 9 meters below the ocean or 30 feet down. And this was during low tide.
Oh no. So that's not really.
It's never real. It was never real.
Oh.
Which, very French way to win a war. The thing, though, is they just survived war with France, but they got bigger problems to deal with. Shortly after declaring a one-sided war on France, Perlasia walked into a small bank in Shasta County, California. She would request a $20,000 loan for a car, which, is pretty normal shit if the bank interest rate is lower than the financing for the car. And $20,000 would actually get you a less than average car at the time. It's a little lower than the average price, so it's not like she's going in there being like, "I want a Dodge Viper. It looks bitchin' as hell." And the problem, though, is that instead of applying for a personal loan, she was requesting the money on behalf of another bank called Bank Asia AG. The bank clerk did not think this was normal and told Perlasia that it's illegal to pretend to be a bank, and then called the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation.
Whew.
Now, Perlasia would be called in by the state authority to answer a few questions. And I'm just going to quote Kenneth Sayer Peterson, who was the main attorney for the department at the time. Quote, Her response was to come back with all this information about the Dominion of Melchizedek and how Bank Asia AG was a licensed bank in that country.
Oh no.
It's always going to blow my mind how con artists always make the same mistake, that you just have to bail when it's good. And why they don't blows my mind.
Yes, like you started out seemingly having the idea of just like we're not gonna get an outsized loan. We're gonna go in for something very normal, very comfortable, easy peasy. But then no, cut and run, cut your losses. Don't keep digging.
Yeah. This was enough for the department to decide, okay, we need to cancel our weekend plans for a little bit and really look into this because fuck these people. And, I mean, sorry, I just thought it's so buck wild for a bank to go to another bank and say, hey, I need a loan. I'm sure it happens, but it's such a baffling thing to do, especially for 20 grand. If you're a bank and you need 20 grand suddenly, I don't.
Micronation, it's a micro loan.
Oh my God, yes. Do little increments, tiny increments, you'll be fine. So the state of California starts looking into things, and they immediately ban Pearl Asia from representing herself as a banker in California, which the state of Indiana shortly did after that, because it turns out she'd been pretending to be a banker in Indiana also.
She's also in Indiana?
She would reply to this as any normal leader of a fictional faith-based nation would, and declared spiritual warfare on the whole state.
Hell yeah.
Quote,
oh no.
I will do metaphysical battle with you in your dream state.
No.
And if you interpret your dreams correctly, you will know that I am the victor.
She's going to do a Freddy Krueger on some feds.
She sent that to the Deputy Attorney General of the state, and is why Californians cannot dream to this day.
Oh, no.
So it kind of caused the state to dive a little deeper and discovered what San Francisco Weekly called, quote, a sort of mothership for con artists worldwide.
Amazing.
So I mentioned before that they kind of offered fake papers in the early days, but they expanded since then. So not only are they offering the ability for people to create fake banking licenses, fake passports, business licenses, but you can now get college degrees and lawyer certificates. Con artists would gain titles in the Dominion to bolster their image and importance. The nation began stating they had embassies in the United States, Australia, Hungary, Peru, and Brazil, as well as trade offices in Nigeria and Singapore. The goal is just to overwhelm people's professional sounding things and titles and really good looking paperwork, and rely on a mix of geographic ignorance and desire for financial comfort to just do the rest. And the schemes that people did were varied. Such as 1991, Steve Peterson tried to secure bank loans from banks in Washington, D.C. using Dominion of Melchizedek, and I'm just going to say DOM from here on out, using DOM shell banks. He would be caught and plead guilty to fraud and theft, but not in D.C., but in Arizona. But that would be because in Arizona, he was using a DOM chartered company to do business. In 1995, 22-year-old Gerhard Bachner, or as he was calling himself at the time, His Serene Highness Gerald Dennis Sein Wittgenstein Hohenstein of the Dominion of Melchizedek,
yes, live it up,
was arrested in Hong Kong for trying to start multiple bank accounts with fake checks from a DOM bank, totaling $319,000. You're never going to guess his plea. It was just a prank, bro.
No.
Which judges and regulators love to hear in every country.
I was joking. You just don't have a sense of humor.
They did not, and sentenced him to 6 months in prison. Apparently, he had been living at the airport for a while, and this was like his attempt to make money.
No.
They also found that Gerhard had used his DOM passport in multiple countries, and that Singapore and Malaysia had agreed with the DOM that their passports were perfectly fine, would be accepted by anyone who came through the countries. Roger Rosemont, he had opened a company called Credit Bank International while being the DOM's ambassador at large. He was offering what was called a 60-40 investment program, which is a really fancy way of saying he did a Ponzi scheme that mostly focused on people in the Caribbean. He conned 2,000 people into giving him $4 million.
No.
In 1995, a company called Inner Sanctum offered a get-rich-quick investment scheme in Britain that they claim was backed by U.S. Treasury bonds. Their funding was via a DOM bank, which led to the business being raided and said Treasury bonds being revealed to actually being pre-war German Weimar Republic bonds.
No.
In 1996, Jeffrey Reynolds, the DOM Secretary of Commerce, created a company called California Pacific Bankers and Insurance. And from that, he was able to scam $40 million in fake insurance, which was good enough to get him 3 years in prison.
Oh my God.
In 1996, 6 Portuguese men spent 3 years conning 39 businessmen into funding a hotel in the city of Algarve that never got built. One of the men who got built was Rogério Cavaro Silva, the brother of a former Portuguese president. Those men would be found guilty in 2007, with the largest sentence being 6 years. In 1999, the DOM Minister of Justice made a living in the Philippines, offering unemployed and homeless people passports and work permits once they got to wherever the DOM was. He extorted hundreds of thousands of dollars before being arrested. And the thing is, by 1999, they had created a total of 30 banks, or at least that people could find, that had licensure in the Dominion. And they were getting harder and harder to spot because of this bullshit fad called cyberspace. I don't fucking know. Get me my slippers. I'm tired of talking about this. I read the paper.
This is so much criming. And you know what this, as someone who grew up watching so many times the Sean Connery, James Bond movies where like the bad guy was always Spectre, or what, you know, it's like nationless, just like organization of baddies. It's like, that's what this feels like. But the reality is always so much worse and so much dumber.
Oh, leaps and bounds. So the passport scheme they had, where they were just selling fake passports to people, was enough to gain them $1 million in direct money. It is believed that all the concurrent scams added together, within a 5-year period, the DOM was able to con $500 million.
Off the backs of the poor.
The poor and the desperate. As for Perlasia and her attempt to get that car loan, well, I mean, she would claim that it was just a simple misunderstanding. You see, her and David were actually, living on the banks of a river in their cabin on Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is always a red flag. If someone tells you they live on Mount Shasta, it's not going to get better from there. Especially if you're a party. Fucking go. Yeah.
Don't ever live in a city that sounds like a third-rate cola.
I will not stand for this Shasta abuse. It is pineapple delicious, I think.
Oh, no.
I think that's what it tastes like. So they were just like goofing one evening and they were like, oh, bank, because we live on a riverbank. Asia, because that's where Pearl Asia's from. And then the California authorities were like, okay, but what's the AG part from? Because looking at what you filed out, it's actually a really long German word for a bank owned by shareholders. And she didn't really have an answer for that. But Bank Asia AG I didn't know if I was saying it was a bank. I just wanted to like get a loan for this company we made up on a whim. And so she promised San Francisco Weekly that it was just silly and it was just a pure accident. To which the state regulator told them, after laughing, quote, they definitely knew what they were doing. Which makes it all the more frustrating that neither David or Perlasia went to jail after this attempt at fraud, or the actions of all the other con men. The common reply to all the grifts would be for David to state that the banks operate independently of the Dominion, and he can't be held accountable for what they do. The U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency felt otherwise and had been begging the Department of Justice to look into it, but it never became a priority, so charges never happened.
No.
Now, Perlasia would step down as president, choosing instead to move to the South Bay area and start a family with David. And you know what? It's probably time for the Dominion to settle down too. They'd been kicked out of Colombia. The Caribbean Islands were bullshit. They really just needed a place that was real and unprotected. And it would take until 1998 that the DOM finally got a home. A real, actual island that you can prove is above seawater, and it was called the Taongi Atoll. Based on the DOM website, they even took the extra step to make sure that they legally own it. According to that's the right response. According to the history of the country, which the website conspicuously has started in 1998, gee, I wonder why. The story of gaining Taongi is as wild as a day of filing paperwork. Due to Taongi being part of the Marshall Islands, they would usually have to work with that government to get the island. But lucky for them, an unnamed former president of the Marshall Islands declared that the true owner of the uninhabited atoll was Mergel Hermios, who had been given the title of Airojalapla, or Paramount Chief, which the DOM equates to king. Mergel then gave his adopted brother Robert Moore power of attorney for a 55-year period. Robert then transferred his power of attorney to the Dominion of Melchizedek, giving them Taongi Atoll for 45 years. This plan, though, would fall apart within a year because Mergel died. But lucky for the Dominion, the island's successor, Remios Hermios, gave a 50-year lease to the Dominion in a speech on DOM TV, a thing that existed. It would equate
No.
this to the same deal that China had with Hong Kong. The deal was supposedly made thanks to the tireless work of DOM Vice President David Carem.
All right. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back there, David.
So I can't find any proof that DOM TV is a thing, but
Ah, damn it.
LARP your heart out. And much to my surprise, both Murgel and Remios Hermios are real people, and both actually held or hold the title of a Rojalapla. The thing, though, is they don't rule over their lands like a king. It's an honorific title, and they get to be part of like a sort of like a House of Commons, but just for chiefs, and they get to help advise the government directly. But they're not kings. They still have to answer to the Marshallese government.
Sure. Yeah. Like when my job gives me a new title at work in lieu of a better pay.
Right, right. And so the Marshallese government had to come out with an official statement saying that no one who represents the DOM, or there was actually another micronation that was trying to take this island too. So they're like, there are no micronations that own this island. It is our island, and anyone who says otherwise are fucking frauds.
These micronations are going to come in and gentrify the place. You gotta stay sharp.
And it's like, I don't blame people for not knowing of the Marshall Islands. If I walked up to the average person and said, hey, I represent the government of Micronesia, that sounds like the most made up thing ever. But it's a fucking country. It is a real ass country.
They're real, damn it.
Yeah, and so I can see how this grift works. But yeah, so they had to go out and tell people like this isn't true. And the DOM would state that they had yet to settle on the atoll, and that for now it's more of an ecclesiastical state without boundaries. But they're gonna take that island, because it's legally, by all the loopholes they have there, and there's nothing the Marshallese government can do to stop them. And so they started making plans. They claimed that they were going to use ocean waves as a power source. So essentially, this isn't complete bullshit. Ocean wave power is a thing that exists.
Okay.
So they planned they were going to put a power source out there to produce a megawatt of energy through the waves, which is enough to equate to 10 car engines or to power 330 homes for an hour.
Okay.
So, fine.
Great.
It's even more buck wild, though, because wave power didn't even have a physical test phase until 2003. And this is when a wave power test facility was built off the coast of Orkney, Scotland. But not only that, but the few operating wave powered energy sites have cost tens of millions of dollars, and they're still in their experimental phase. But on top of that, they also have to figure out how they're going to get fresh water there. Simple answer, they're just going to open a desalination plant. Which on average costs $30 million. There's also going to be tourism, which they promise to keep very small due to breeding grounds of unspecified creatures. And they might actually make a bunch of underwater buildings because they do have to take the tides into account.
Oh my God.
They're buildings that you could only get to through scuba.
Atlantis 2.0.
It's gonna be fine. It's wave power. What could go wrong? And yeah, they do actually note that the Marshall Islands have said that it's not their island, and they end up countering this with some sovereign citizen or interpretation of the Marshallese Constitution, and essentially say this land is ours, take us to maritime court. And then things just kind of go quiet. It might be that David and Perlasia realized that they were flying too close to the sun. Maybe the Marshall Islands declared psychic nuclear war on them. It's just something clicked, and the two seemed to just let the DOM sit. It exists online, but the avenues that had been there for criminals across the globe dried up as regulating bodies caught wise. But what might have actually caused it is that David went on 60 Minutes.
Oh, he did fly too close to the sun.
On April 10th, 2000, David Carem would agree to an interview with not 60 Minutes, but 60 Minutes 2. In a segment that they would call Fantasy Island. By this point, reporter Bob Simon would note that over 100 banks were operating off the island, and multiple other finance companies were doing the same. But after stating that, David would actually correct Bob's numbers and said there were actually 300 banks operating off this island. Bob noted you could just buy passports off the DOM website, which until the year prior were going for $10,000 a pop. You want to make an insurance company? That's $1,000. You want your own bank? $50,000. You want to make sure that your bank looks financially stable? Well, you're going to want DOM government bonds to fill that bank. The real slam of the interview, though, came at the end. Quote for Bob Simon, "Why would a convicted con man agree to so much publicity? Perhaps he has been untouched by the law for so long that he feels invulnerable. Or maybe he just figures that in the vast 60 Minutes 2 audience, there have to be a few con men looking for a place to set up shop."
That isn't a dog whistle to the feds.
So David would respond to the airing of this episode by suing CBS and 60 Minutes 2 for libel for the grand total of $1 billion in damage.
Oh my God.
The thing, though, is it wasn't the closing sentence that made him sue. It was an opening throwaway statement early on where Bob Simon said David called himself a prophet, which technically he didn't. He looks like a prophet. He preaches a lot of religious nonsense. He's not he alludes that he is, but he never outright says it. So he kind of, I don't know how that would go in court.
He's got his ego checked, man.
The problem, though, is that CBS and 60 Minutes 2 refused to go to court, which ended in a default judgment for David for the full $1 billion.
No.
It was in a DOM court, though. So.
What?
Yep. Yeah, he sued him in bullshit fake court and won. To which CBS just kind of ignored it, and I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, idiot.
And then after this, complete silence. For nearly a decade, the scams completely dried up. David and Perlasia went quiet, the DOM website stayed up, and it felt like the nation scam had finally run its course. But of course, once you get addicted to the con, you gotta do one more good last job. And for this one, it kind of seems like it was all on Perlasia. So in 2004, she ends up buying the rights to a mining company that she would rename Pearl Asian Mining Industries, and then a little later renamed to its official name, Z-Next Mining Corporation. So the company was very much just a gold mining operation out of the Philippines in a remote location. As she put it, quote, "The site is located in a remote mountainous region that was periodically affected by rebel activity." In 2006, she announced that the company got an expensive new ore refining system that would save the company $10 million a year. In 2008, she would release the very last financial disclosure that she had for the SEC, claiming the company made $37 million in revenue. And in 2009, authorities thought that doesn't sound right. We know you guys. And they started looking into Z-Next. First they decided to go to try to find this mining site in the Philippines. It turns out it wasn't in a remote location. It was actually a site surrounded by private property that had been completely inaccessible until 2007. So from 2004 to 2007, she couldn't have even been making money, but had been claiming to be making millions of dollars in gold this whole time. Second, they found that the company had yet to apply for a permit from the Philippine government to mine on the property. They found that the company changing ore refining machine that they got was actually a machine used to purify scrap jewelry that they bought for about $595 online.
Oh, no.
They also found that it showed up busted and didn't even work.
Oh, no.
But the true scam behind this was the company offered stocks at a super low rate known as penny stocks. And like I said before, the advantage is if one person buys a fuck ton of penny stocks, price can be very easily manipulated. Also, a bit of good news can jump up the price of a stock's value from a penny to 2 pennies, which means you double your investment just by saying, hey, we did good. So what the SEC found was that Z-Next issued millions of stocks, then sent out a set of fraudulent press releases bragging about how much money they were making. In one instance, they announced that there was to be a cash dividend for stock owners, which means that they have made so much profit that they are going to give money to stock owners based on how much stock they have. And this alone caused the stock to jump from 13 cents to 21 cents in one day. So more commonly, this tactic is known as a pump and dump scheme. It's been very popular with crypto and NFTs recently. Well, even more so crypto. So you artificially raise the price, sell your own shares at a higher rate, and then rinse and repeat as often as you can before you get caught. So an instance the SEC found of this happening is that Pearl Asia made over $1 million in stock sales of her own shares in 2006 alone, just from these pump and dumps.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and this is 2006 too. So we're like, the whole country is just awash in absolute bullshit stock.
Yeah, just swimming in comfort.
Yeah. And mortgages.
So when asked by San Francisco Weekly what happened, Perlasia found a bus and threw her husband right under it. She claims that David and a nameless corporate lieutenant made false reports to the SEC that whole time. She said that the company was really making money, and no, she didn't buy some crap jewelry machine off of Amazon, but all the claims of ultra success, beyond just regular success, that's all on David, and he did it without her knowledge. In 2010, that's when the lawsuit showed up. And Perlasia refused to show up to court. So the court had no choice but to give a default judgment, just like Alex Jones and CBS. Good company. But she did have an excuse. Supposedly, she had an aneurysm and was dead for 3 days.
No.
You're right. No, you can't be dead for 3 days. Your brain is done. She would tell San Francisco Weekly it was a miracle.
Not that she resurrected herself, but that 3 days prior she had had an aneurysm and had been dead that long.
Look, what she did is she put a specific prayer on to the tape deck, had it on repeat for 3 days, and then she's totally fine. Or she tried to scam God with penny stocks and sent her back.
Yeah, fuck out of here.
There's no gold here. No, you can't sell the halos. Those are expensive. Since she ignored the court, they decided that they were going to fine her $1.8 million and that she would be banned for life from trading penny stocks. In an interview in 2011, she was still refusing to pay and was hopeful that a lawyer would step forward and help her appeal the decision.
Oh boy.
As for Mark Pedley, Mark Wellington, Branch Vindes, or David Carem, he would end up getting arrested in the summer of 2010 as part of Operation Broken Trust, which was a nationwide action to fight small-time investment fraud. They found that David offered illegal kickbacks to a stockbroker if the stockbroker bought a ton of shares in Xenex to inflate the price. He would be extradited to Florida, charged with stock manipulation, pled guilty, and was sentenced to prison in Miami for 2 years.
That's it?
Yep, that's it. But he lost more, Una. Pearl Asia claims that this was the last moment that she ever spoke to David. Not only did he fuck with her company, he fucked with their relationship. She would claim that David had cheated on her during this time. And she was right. It was actually proved and verified by federal court, thanks to a woman named Sadia Barameda, writing the court to beg for leniency. She would write, quote, David Carem is many things. The most important from my perspective is that he has been an excellent father to our 6-year-old son, Zedek.
No! Yep. Just got so saucy!
Mm-hmm. So, fun side note on Sadia. In 2015, she created a website called Ebola.com, which I'm kind of shocked wasn't taken. And the goal of it, and this is like during the Ebola crisis in Liberia, the goal seems to be to convince people that weed cures Ebola.
Oh, no.
She would say there isn't really any proof yet, but we need to do more testing, but also alluded that weed cures HIV.
Girl, no. Just smoke your dope in your own privacy. Just stop it.
She also wrote a book called Michael the Friendly Ghost, where the spirit of Michael Jackson travels the world to help people, all while working to prove that he was in fact murdered. But it gets better. She co-wrote it with a writer called the Holy Ghost Writer. She has kept her identification anonymous, but offers a $5,000 reward if you can correctly guess who she is.
Elena Ferrante.
She's hidden clues in her Count of Monte Cristo series, which is just a bunch of sequels to the Count of Monte Cristo. And one is the story of the Count of Monte Cristo told by Sherlock Holmes.
So she writes fan fiction.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
Good for her. But
my favorite thing is that on one of her sequels to the Count of Monte Cristo, which I believe is the Sultan of Monte Cristo, the cover of the book is a picture of David Carem.
What?
Yeah, it's just him looking all Nazarene. It's wonderful. It was such a fun thing to fucking discover.
It's wild.
Either way, this is the point where Pearl Asia and David split. They didn't divorce because I don't think they were actually legally married to begin with.
Was there a marriage certificate?
It might have been DOM certified.
Yeah. All right.
But based on those shady websites that help you find people, the best info I can find is that she still lives in the Bay Area and is paying about $4,800 a month on rent.
Oof.
Yeah. The story of Mark Logan Pedley / David Carem seems to end in 2012. That year, he's also released from prison, and the DOM website announces that he has also, quote, stepped down from any activities or involvement with the Dominion of Melchizedek. Copies of redacted emails would be supplied to prove that David Carem had in fact decided to step down and focus purely on spiritual messaging on Twitter via his handle, King of Salem. In total, he made one tweet, and it said, "Hello, Melchizedians." He also friended everyone with Melchizedek in their name on Twitter, which is like 3 people.
You know what? Sure.
Yeah.
You
got to grow that following, I guess.
Yeah.
So this meant a new person would become prime minister of the nation, and this would be filled by DOM ambassador at large since 2006, David Parker Williams. The way that David Parker Williams does his name is it's David Parker Williams.
Absolutely not. No. The hyphen I would have let slide.
Mm-hmm.
The colon?
The colon's a move. Colon's a fucking vibe.
Are you a PhD dissertation? What is happening?
According to him, this decision was supported unanimously by the nation's government because of his skill with international law and his feelings on self-determination.
Wanking motion.
His official action would come about a month later when he denounced the Melchizedek Bible and the spiritual work of David Carem. He then went quiet for a couple of years.
Ooh.
And here's where we go into uncharted territory. Una, I think David Carem is back and no one seems to have noticed. And to go over that, we need to do a part 2. Because I could make a lot of wild accusations today, but I'm still waiting for emails. I'm still waiting for people to get back to me. There's some key players. There's some stuff going on. The DOM website updated in 2021, and there's just so much weird bullshit that I need to unravel because it's still going on. There's still a scam. I think I know what it is, and I can't stop until I unravel this shit.
This is so exciting.
So I don't know if part 2 is going to be next week. I don't know if it's going to be later from now because I got to play journalist, which I've never really done.
Love it.
We're
going to get swept up in a grift.
Dude, I'm mind blown with the rabbit holes I've fallen down. It's like falling into the fucking Alice in Wonderland bullshit. Only all of it makes less sense somehow. Yeah, and so it's a bit of a heads up on what I found so far. There's new leadership. There's one person who I think is David Carem, maybe 2. There might be some social service shenanigans that are going on. There might be some duping of good-hearted people.
Oh, well, I'm sure that is happening.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But we're going to find out. And we'll do a part 2 when that happens. We'll cover everything.
Yay!
And I just realized we didn't even get to talk about how the DOM tried to fund a Fijian secession movement to get more islands.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. Like they also tried to claim Mary Birdland in Antarctica, which is the part of Antarctica that no one owns because there's nothing there.
Oh, and they didn't go for it? I feel like that would have been their safest bet.
Apparently on the website, they listed one of the ambassadors there with the last name Penguini, which the California Department of banking regulations referred to as, quote, cute.
They're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine working this case had to be the most fun and frustrating thing they've ever done. But yeah, that's the story of the Dominion of Melchizedek and the Pedleys and Pearl Asia Gamboa. And I swear to God, we're going to get to the bottom of this bullshit. I don't know if it's next week, but yeah, feelings and thoughts, Una.
I mean, should we do a Mary Fuck Politely Ask to Leave of David's names?
Yeah, of just his names?
Well, of his, I guess of David and his various, I don't know.
Okay, so like David Pedley, Mark Pedley, Pearl Asia Gamboa. Oh,
I was thinking Mark Pedley,
Mark Wellington, David Carem, Branch Vinedresser.
Yes, that's the one. That's it.
Now you fuck Branch Vinedresser. That's how that goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
On a Viking funeral pyre.
Oh my God, yeah. It'll be the last and best. I think you marry Mark Wellington just because that's when he's like has his most shit together.
Yep.
And I think you have to banish David Carem. That guy's out of control.
Yeah, and he clearly cheats on his wife.
Exactly. So... Yeah, he's not gonna make you happy in the end.
Nope.
At least the first time he went to prison. Ugh. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll be seeing you guys next week. Who knows what we're going to talk about? Or if suddenly I have to go to witness protection because I've pissed off a country that doesn't exist.
Or maybe just pretend to go into witness protection.
I'll sell shit houses in unincorporated territories, ripping off businessmen in San Jose. You know, the dream. Well, unless I end up doing that, we'll see you next week on Gadfly. Long Jewish name. Princess of Unity. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?